essentially two types of reptilians. There's the spacefaring reptilians. They literally fly around in spaceships. And then there are what's been described as the inner terrestrials that live within the Earth, that are essentially native to this planet. They've been here as long as, or longer than we have. And these beings have developed over time an interdimensional capability. They are masters of frequency and resonance. They can alter their density. The reptilians have attained control of the surface through a mastery of genetics, through control of the human gene pool, modifying the human race in general, in particular bloodlines in particular, to the point where they develop attributes, behaviors, and capabilities which advance the reptilian agenda on the surface. The reptilians come in a number of different shapes and sizes. Some are rather small, 4.5 to 5 feet tall. More commonly, they're 6 feet tall and taller. Some as high as 7.5 feet tall. They can be a number of colors, like dark green. They can be brownish, what's been described as pea soup green. There's a particular type of reptilian species we refer to as the yellow bellies. There are many reptile-type species on the surface, like crocodiles and alligators, that have a tannish or a whitish underside. There are literally reptilians that have a whitish or a tannish underside. We call them yellow bellies. And these reptilians, over time, have developed the ability to, like I said, they can alter their density.
Además, James Barclay habla de cómo funciona la genética reptiliana en los seres humanos.
Do is either through a process of selective breeding, where they track family bloodlines over generations. The term familiar comes from families, and so these reptilian beings would track these bloodlines generation after generation, and they would manipulate people to have unions with one another, sexual unions for purposes of procreation. Some of them were one-off, one-night stand kind of things, and others were meant to be more long-lasting. And the purpose behind it was to ensure that the people that were getting together, the males and the females, were the right reptilian DNA strain. Because the DNA has a morphogenetic blueprint resonance, which allows the reptilians to imbue a lot of their essence into these people. These people, in these hybrid bloodlines, they have a genetic predisposition to be taken up as a host by these entities, these interdimensional entities. The movie Stargate SG-1, rather the TV show Stargate SG-1, actually depicts this, but in a more literal way, where they show these snake-like aliens burrowing into the base of someone's neck and taking them up as a host. And each one of these snake-like entities are called a Goa'uld, and then once a person is taken up as a host, that person then becomes a host for this entity. The entity, the consciousness of the entity works through this person, and the entity has the genetic memory and the wisdom and the knowledge of all of its predecessors in its particular bloodline. So that is a TV version of what's really happening. These beings create these hybrid bloodlines which have a genetic, psychological, indeed spiritual predisposition to be taken up as a host by these interdimensional reptilian beings.
Interview there, you mentioned seeing a lizard-like creature at Peasmore. Would you tell us more about that?
Yeah, on one occasion, it was just a single occasion, I was in the main corridor at the base, and coming out of the room, along the main corridor was this very large creature, very tall, well over 6 foot, being accompanied by 2 men in suits, which I took to be NSA operatives. They're the only ones who don't wear badges in the place. I just stopped in my tracks, very, very shaken. I mean, it's a very powerful looking being, very difficult to describe, just very, very tall, very well built, very strong, well over, as I say, well over 6 foot. He must have towered at least a foot over my head. A greeny, browny, mottled type of skin. I tried to take in as many details as possible, but as I say, it literally caught me unawares. I was really put into shock. Didn't know what the hell it was. It was just casually walking along the main corridor with the 2 operatives. Got a very strong sense of evil, and nastiness about the thing. It worried me for quite a while afterwards. I mean, you know, you're never told. The security people are the last to be told what's going on. But it was inferred by others at the time that that was one of the reptile species. Of course, it didn't mean that much to me at the time. But every time you asked questions, no one wanted to answer. It was just strongly inferred that, yeah, that was a reptilian, you don't want to mess with that, and it was just left at that. But over the years, it just seems more and more plausible to me that that also was another creation from the base. It just, you know, there may well be reptilian races, but it's just as easy for the military to have actually made this thing, rather than it being an actual reptilian.
Like the rest of them?
Like the rest of them, yeah. I sit more happier with that yeah, that was actually made rather than an actual species, yeah.
That it was a program-generated life form.
I'm pretty certain it was, yeah.
Did he make sounds or say anything?
No, he never looked at me, he just continued walking, there was no interaction whatsoever. I only got some interaction from the two guys who, I'm standing there, mouth wide open, gaping at this, and I just got the look from them, just you know, and they just continued, and I continued about my business. No, there was no sound, no speaking, no nothing whatsoever. It was just walking along the main corridor with the two guys, and that was it.
Did you have any idea what his function was?
Well, again, you ask as many questions as you formulate afterwards, once you've got over the initial shock of what the hell was that. No one wanted to know, no one wanted to easily give answers to questions. It was a case of, well, you saw it, that was it. You know, don't ask questions. Troublemakers ask questions and they don't.
He was walking on 2 feet, was he, or 4 feet, or? 2,
yeah. So I was standing upright. I mean, as I say, I'm trying to take in. This all happened probably within 30 seconds. I'm taking it in, feeling, you know, yeah, I don't want to meet this on a dark night anyway. Yeah, I never even bothered to look back. It was, well, the glance back I gave both the figure and the two guys was very brief. While I continued, that's it. I've got jobs to do. I'm away. That's not my business.
But over a period of time, you were there for upwards of a year or so altogether. Why did this one bit 30 seconds? Why did this brief?
Because it was so out of place with what was going on there. I mean, everyone's so used to the 3 different phases, you know, of development of the PGs, and this literally stuck out like a sore thumb. You know, it's just not the usual thing you see around. It's just the once only. Yeah, it was very unnerving, very scary.
Any final questions?
You didn't see an insignia or anything on his clothing? I mean, he was dressed in something, presumably.
If it was, again, I never noticed. I didn't discern, you know, oh, that was skin and that was clothing. That wasn't there. It was just this tall being. I mean, mostly my focus was from, you know, chest upwards to me, the head. You know, I was literally expecting it to turn around and face me, and then I wouldn't know what I would have done if it had done, but it just kept looking straight and continuing, as if I wasn't even there. So, no, I didn't take in that many details. What I saw was, yeah, quite enough, thanks very much.
Is there anything that you could say it looked like?
Well, again, you've seen drawings that people have done over the years of supposed reptilians, dracos, whatever the names are given. Lizard-like. I mean, it literally is like a very tall, very big lizard. I mean, you know, half expecting the big forked tongue to come out, but, you know, again, it's just what you expect, what you're programmed to expect a lizard-type being to be like.
Any idea why they would create such a creature?
Well, it's exactly the same like the normal, if you can call them that, PGs. I mean, they're there for military abductions. And there's an aura of mystery over the reptilians. They're the dangerous ones. They're the ones who are in charge. They're just continuing that. Yeah.
Anything finally that you would like to say to the CSETI group?
Well, as I mentioned,
word of advice?
Well, there is. I mean, there's insiders out there who probably know a hell of a lot more than I'll ever know, and there's a lot of people out there who want to come forward. Just give them the reassurances that they'll be listened to without being laughed at. They'll come forward.
Can you help in that regard?
Well, it's limited to what I can personally do. I mean, I can only help with people over on this side of the Atlantic, and I know there's a load of people
locally,
who are involved. And by making my documents known, they know that I was involved. It might make them a little bit safer in coming forward.
Okay.
Well, thank you.